video, we dive into dating internationally and my friend's experience dating African men, which is kind of interesting. Let's start off with when you travel to another country, whatever your perspective is towards that particular country, it will most likely change when you actually live and in person in that particular country, because you will gain firsthand experience of the people and their culture. Because no matter if you see a particular culture, race, or ethnicity of people in that particular country, it does not necessarily mean or equal that people will be the same in another country, and that is all because of culture. The culture will change.
30 minutes.
I'm taking him back to go and massage him myself. No, but I will give you the massage. It's okay, thank you.
Oh, you cut that short. I was gonna stay here for like 15 minutes.
I know. I'll let you have your way, God.
Oh, you spoiled it.
From traveling, I see that all people are not the same, and it's based on their culture and how they were raised. It's not based on race, because a black person living in the U.S. and from the U.S. is not like a black person who is from Africa and living in Africa. And a Mexican who speaks Spanish is not the same as a Cuban who also speaks Spanish, because it's two different cultures, and also how they were raised in these two different cultures, who also have two different histories and environments, determine the makeup of the individual. Once I was in South Africa and a woman asked, "What is my zodiac sign?" In my head, I was thinking, I hope she doesn't base all people on a sign versus how they were raised. And if so, she's going to miss out on a lot of good people in her life. And I was right. She did go by birth signs until I asked her some questions to open up her mindset. I used to ask the question of birth signs until, again, from traveling the world, I saw that it all depends on how the individual was raised. And from how you were raised, also, let's underline the word experiences in that person's life help develop your overall personality as a person. And also with this, it depends on the person's environment and culture. So all those things help come to play a person's personality, which is the individual, whoever or whomever you're talking to. So the underlying words: experiences, their environment and culture, and how they were raised. All this helps develops an individual.
So where's the meeting point?
Yeah.
Right here?
Like
Oh, up there.
the club is. This is an African club up here.
It's a what? Hotel?
Club.
Where? Bollywood?
My finger's pointing.
Oh, right here. Okay, the VIP room.
It's an African club.
So why is it called the VIP room?
That's what they named it. I mean, you can name it whatever. That place over there is called Warm Up.
Is it African?
Yeah, but I think the other African club is the Track. It's called Track.
Track.
Yeah, I didn't put much thought into it.
So some of the questions I asked her that eventually kind of changed her mindset about believing in birth signs versus just gaining the person's personality based on how they were raised was that, do you believe South African culture and the U.S. culture is the same? Her answer was no. I was like, okay, well, how can you base a sign on two different individuals that were raised totally different? And if a person was raised by two parents in their household and the other person was not, or maybe they was an orphan their whole life and they got kind of mistreated and went from different families, do you believe based on a sign these two individuals going to be kind of similar based on a sign? Her answer was no. And I was breaking it down to the point of this is why I look more into a person's personality and how they were raised versus a sign. And that was just an example of someone I had met in South Africa. That's not what you're seeing right here. What you're about to see here in a few minutes is a little discussion we had about dating and her experience dating an African man or African men. While I was holding the camera, I was looking around and she was talking about there's African clubs specifically that they go to. And I didn't really see the VIP room because, again, I was holding the camera, but I was looking in a different direction. And she had mentioned that the VIP room right here is a popular club amongst African people, mainly African men. And after she told me her experience of dating African men, we got into the discussion of the difference between African men from Africa, black people from the U.S., and black people from South America or even the Caribbean, that it's all a difference. It's not the same. And we got into that a little bit later on. But let's get more into the discussion of her experience dating African men or an African man. And the discussion starts here.
I used to party here all the time.
VIP room.
The guy I was dating used to MC here.
You worked there?
Yeah.
What happened?
What happened to him working there or us dating?
Yeah, dating. What happened?
He's come back to Nigeria. We tried for like 3 years and we're like,
Why didn't you go to Nigeria?
I don't really want to go there.
You said you didn't want to?
Yeah.
Why? Because it's fucked up?
And he can't really work here. There isn't really much job opportunities here for Nigerians.
So why was he working here?
No, he was a student here and then he started working here. He was MCing.
But why come study in Malaysia?
I have no idea. I ask the same question every time.
So a lot was said and has some good questions. So let's go ahead and dissect all what was said. She said that he worked here in Malaysia. To me, that was just a red flag. Out of all places, why would you come to Malaysia to work? And he was from Africa, which didn't make sense. You know, why not go to South Africa? I have a video called South Africa is similar to the U.S., which it is. You know, check that video out. That's where most Africans go if they don't want to go to Europe or to Northern America. They go straight to South Africa because South Africa has more opportunities than whatever country they're coming from. So you're going to see a lot of people in South Africa from Nigeria specifically, and the bordering countries like Zimbabwe. You're going to see a lot of people from there, and just all over Africa, they come to South Africa. And some of the top universities in their whole continent, guess where they're at? They're in South Africa. So if you're going to go to school somewhere, you're not going to go to a whole different continent. You're going to go and stay in your same continent, but go to the place with the best universities, and that's South Africa. So when she said that he was coming to go to school here first, then he started working, red flag again. Even when I asked her the question, why come he came to Malaysia to go to university, she had said, well, I have no idea. I asked the same question every time. And as we talked more about this relationship, it came down to her talking about something dealt with money, and that was another red flag for me. And basically it was scamming, and that was the reason for leaving the country of Malaysia, going back to Nigeria. She then talked about another relationship, and again it was someone from Nigeria. So I guess it is a lot of Nigerians specifically in this area, but just overall here in Malaysia. Why? I have no idea. I'm thinking it has something to do with some kind of scamming shit, but I might be wrong. but just from talking to her, that's what it sounds like. I could be wrong, but hey, she's a native here. This is her country, so I'm not going to say she's lying. But it does look bad because some people will put overall the people that look like that person who you were dating in the same boat, which again, we're going to go back to the beginning of this video when I said that all individuals are different based on their life experiences, how they were raised, and their culture, because their culture is going to be totally different because of their environment. So all these things matter. These things matter when you go on a date with someone. These things matter when you're just dating someone, and these things matter when you're actually in a relationship, which is a commitment. And again, all these things are the makeup of an individual's personality. So when I asked her the question of, am I the first Black American that you have met so far, her answer was yes. And we didn't have to go into detail of, do you know the difference between Black American or someone from the Caribbean or even in Africa. It was no need to ask her the question because she doesn't live in a mono ethnicity country. In Malaysia, there's Indian people, there's the original people that was here, Malaysian, and also there's Chinese people as well. She understands that Indian people in Malaysia and Indian people in the country of India, or Indian people in South Africa, or even in the US, even though they're the same, they're totally different from one another, and it gets broken down into the individual because one person does not represent all. The only thing that was kind of shocking when we got into the discussion of dating and relationships and just different countries was that she left out a whole continent, which was South America. And a lot of people tend to do this. They forget that there's Black people also in South America. South America is just a part of Americas, but it's just the southern part. And there's a lot of Black people there, specifically in Brazil. Not as much as in the US, and I have a video about this. Check that video out. It should be in my Brazil playlist. But they still have a lot of Black people in Brazil that people, again, tend to forget or they just leave out. And again, when it comes to dating and culture, these people in Southern America, specifically Black people, is totally different than the Black people above them in Northern America. And when I explained to her that, yeah, there's a lot of Black population also in Southern America, she got interested in more. And, I showed her some pictures and videos, and, I had to break down also the explanation of, but the only difference between the Black people in Southern America and also in Northern America is you have a lot of people in Southern America, specifically in Brazil. You might see this picture video of them, but they do not classify themselves as Black or African. And that kind of confused her, and that's another video I do whenever I do visit the country of Brazil. And also I had to explain to her that when I do go to these countries, specifically in South America, Brazil or Colombia, or even when I went to Guyana, something that all these three countries share is they do not really call themselves African. When I was in Guyana, even though Guyana is in the continent of South America, right next door to Brazil, they consider themselves Caribbean. Black people in Jamaica, they don't call themselves African Jamaican. They just say, I'm Jamaican. And that means that they're Black. But they don't specifically call themselves African, mainly because they don't know where they're from in Africa. So they specifically say their Caribbean island country they're from, which would be, in this case, Jamaica. You don't see people from the Caribbean country of Haiti saying, I'm African Haitian. They just say, I'm Haitian, or I'm from the Caribbean. Where? Haiti. I'm Haitian. So overall, there are differences. Just because you're one race or one color does not mean that no matter where in the world this person is from, that they're all going to be the same. You can't lump everybody into one little boat. It's not going to happen. And like I mentioned also, each individual gets broken down because based on one's experience, the other may not never experience that. And we should all know that experience is very important, because someone who have lots of different experiences in life, meaning that it could be travel, because that's very important, you see different than a person who doesn't travel or have never traveled outside the country they live in. And if you live in a country that is mono meaning one, mono ethnicity, you're not going to have as much experience as a person per se. For example, her living in Malaysia, totally different experience. If you made it this far in the video, that means you watched the entire video, and I appreciate that. Again, thanks for all the comments and the views, and until next time, peace out.
Sorry? I said that earlier we were standing there and we moved here, and then he said, yeah, I brought